Hello, hi, this is Josh. My company's Crystal Clean Pool Care. I started Crystal Clean Pool Care about 14 years ago, but I've been in and around the construction trade, pool trade for quite some time now. I'm doing YouTube videos to help people out who might need to try to save a little extra money and want to do their pools themselves, or have been, and now they're winding up with some problems. Green pools, and they've been able to do it for years, but now there's issues. So my basic chemical video is what this video is going to be. Just talk about your basic chemistry, the levels things should be at, and to help just get you the basics, because a lot of people just think you put in a lot of chlorine, vacuum brush, maybe backwash the filter occasionally, and you're going to be okay. And you may be when the water's new, but as the water gets older, you tend to need to balance things a little more. So balancing is really important. Also, you can save money by keeping things in balance, and I'll talk about that a little later. But let's start off with the basics. Here we go. The basics is you need to know how many gallons of water you have in your pool. So take the surface area, times that by the average depth, and measure 3 different areas for the average depth, and then times that by 7.5. That'll give you the gallons you have in your pool. And I always recommend writing that with a black marker on your test kit. And I recommend Taylor test kits. I think they make one of the more accurate testers around, and I recommend having a tester that tests for free available chlorine and total combined chlorine. You'll need to know, I'll let you know what those are for a little bit later on. But the Taylor test kit that does DPD and OTO, free available and total combined chlorine. Once you have that, once you know the gallons, let's start with TDS, total dissolved solids. Now this is a separate tester. Test strips are going to give you the basic reading. They're not going to be real precise, of course, but they'll let you know if you're over 1,500 or at 2,000 or if you're at 500 or 600. They're okay for that, but you can always take a sample to your local pool store. Call me up. I also do free testing for people when I'm in your area. But TDS and conditioner are going to be really the big ones that you need to watch right away at the beginning, especially if you're having problems. So TDS, total dissolved solid, should be between around 500 parts per million, which is what comes out of the faucet, for example, in the San Fernando Valley. And you don't want to be anything above about 2,000 parts per million. So when you're up around the 2,000, 1,1800, 2,000 level, you really should think about draining. This would solve a lot of problems, save you a lot of money in the long run. The next one is conditioner. Conditioner should be between 75 parts per million and no more than 100 parts per million. You can go a little bit above 100, but I don't recommend it. Most local health departments, if it's a commercial pool, could shut you down if it's over 100 parts per million. So you don't want to do that. And you want to always try to be around 75 to 85, or even a tiny bit higher, to have it help you stabilize the chlorine. Otherwise the sun, of course, will just destroy it. And you could put in a gallon of chlorine in the morning and by the afternoon not have any chlorine. So you need your stabilizer. The next thing, if those things are okay, your TDS is, let's say, 800 or 900 or 1,000, your cyanuric acid 75 or 80, you're good, and you could move on from there. The next thing you want to do is check your alkalinity and pH. They work together, don't forget, so if your alkalinity is real high, your pH is going to tend to go real high. If your alkalinity is real low, pH will go real low. You want your alkalinity between 80 and 120, and I like it closer to 80 or 90, and that will help keep your pH around 7.4. But in a plaster pool, your pH is going to constantly rise, and your alkalinity is going to go a little bit with it. So it's a constant battle to test and keep your pH and alkalinity down. So 7.2, 7.4 on your pH, 80, 90, 100, no more than that usually on your alkalinity, and you'll be in pretty decent shape. In pools, I like to try to keep my pH around 7.2, 7.4. Lower the better when it comes to putting in chlorine. If you have a real high pH, you can get a very low effectiveness on a gallon of chlorine. If your pH is low, around 7.2, you can get up to 70–75% effectiveness from that gallon of chlorine. pH is 8.5, 8 plus. You can get as low as a 20% effectiveness from that same gallon of chlorine. So get your pH down, then put your chlorine in, and you'll save a lot of money and get a better effectiveness. The chlorine, you want between 1.5 and 2 as a minimum, and you never want to go past 10. You go past 10 or up to 10 parts per million when you want to shock. Get rid of chloramines. Chloramines is the difference between the free available chlorine and total combined chlorine. And when you have a difference, you want to shock your pool. Chloramines gives you eye irritation. You know, your eyes will hurt when you're under the water, get real red. It's usually because of a high pH or because of a lot of chloramines, or a combination of the two. So if you shock the pool, you'll get rid of that. You don't normally shock just to get rid of algae. To get rid of algae, we raise the chlorine to 30 parts per million. You want to always brush your algae off the walls first, other than black algae, which you can't brush off the walls first. But you want to brush off mustard or green algae off the walls, and you want to raise your chlorine to a minimum of 30 parts per million. And run your equipment 24/7 until it's clear again and you can see the main drain in the deep end. So that's just your basics. I can talk more about the different algaes. Black algae you need to brush with a metal brush, and then you want to use maybe an ammonia-based algicide and or a granular chlorine where it can sit on the black algae and suffocate it. But again, in the future videos I'll talk more about this. You have to be careful if your pool's a painted pool, if your pool's a gray plaster, or if it's white. There are, Pebble Tech. So there are different surfaces, and some chemicals you want to stay away from with certain surfaces. So I'll talk about that in future videos. These are the basics. We have your TDS, your conditioner, very, very important. Then you have your pH and alkalinity, which work together. You want to keep those down. Your chlorine level, at least 2 parts per million is good. 3, 4 is fine as well. It's safe to swim in. Shock a pool for chloramines. 30 parts per million will kill algae, and you always want to brush it off the pool walls first, except black algae, which you can't. And that's your basics in chemistry for your pool. I can get more in depth in future videos. One quick tip. Average backyard pool is 18 to 20,000 gallons roughly, and 1 gallon of 15% pure chlorine, which is what I sell, raises it to 5 parts per million roughly. So 2 gallons of 15% liquid chlorine will shock most pools. And when you're pricing chemicals out, tablets compared to liquid, compared to bags of shock, I think it's cheaper to shock a pool with a couple gallons of chlorine, liquid chlorine, 15% pure, than it is to buy the amount of bags you need of shock to do it. So when you're shopping around, check the prices and everything. Find out what the pH is on everything. Because a painted pool or a tile pool, or you don't need to use as much acid. You may not want to use tablets because the pH is too low. So in future videos I'll talk about all of this and give you tips on different surfaces and what chemicals to use and not use, and a little more in depth on algae killing and how to take care of that. But I hope this helps. I hope you watch your TDS and conditioner, which are the most important. Know the gallons in your pool, and everything should be great. Thank you guys for listening. Please email me, text me, call me. Let me know what else you want to hear about. You have a problem with a filter. I'm going to be doing videos out by the pools. I'm going to do videos taking apart filters, showing you guys how to do things and how many pounds of DE to put in your filter and how often to do things. So please ask the questions, give me feedback, and I'll give you the best information. Thank you very much, and hope to hear from you guys soon. Bye-bye.